Hi everyone, my name is Glenn Bartley and I'm a professional wildlife photographer from up in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I thought I would do a little video today on some of the equipment that I use. I get a lot of emails, a lot of questions. What equipment should I buy? What camera should I use? What lenses do you use? That kind of thing. So I thought I'd do a quick video here to show you some of my main equipment and some of my accessories that I use when I'm in the field photographing birds primarily. So I thought we'd start with camera bodies and lenses here. Now I use Canon equipment and my primary body for the last few years has been the Canon 7D. I like that body because of the built-in crop factor. Certainly it's not a perfect camera. I would love to have better high ISO performance, but for me I haven't seen the need to jump up to the 1DX or even use the 1D Mark IV, which I would lose some of that crop factor. So I've been sticking with the 7D. I hope a new one comes out soon that will give some better ISO performance, but we'll see what comes down the Canon pipeline. Now, as far as lenses go, obviously, as a bird photographer, the main one is this big boy here. I actually just recently upgraded from the 500mm to the 600mm Canon lens, and it is definitely probably the best possible lens out there for bird photography. Very, very sharp, obviously lots of focal length to work with, and surprisingly light given the fact that it is a 600mm lens. The new version is much lighter than the old version. So that's my baby that is going to be with me for a long time. I also often use a teleconverter, so I've got the 1.4 teleconverter on here right now. And it's nice, with the 600 I probably won't have to use it as much, but it's nice to have. You lose a stop of light, but you gain 40% more focal length. So that's my main rig for bird photography. Some of the other lenses that I have here that I use sometimes, I've got the Canon 400mm f5.6. This is an amazing lens for doing flight photography. If you've got bigger subjects or things that are coming fairly close, this lens is so nice and light, focuses very fast, and is extremely sharp. It doesn't have image stabilization, but when you're doing flight photography, often that's not really an issue because you're using faster shutter speeds anyways. So this one often comes with me if I know I'm going to be doing some flight photography. This little brother here is the Canon 300mm f4 image stabilized version. This is an extremely versatile lens. It can be used for wildlife. It was actually the first good lens I bought for bird photography. It takes the converter really well. And the amazing thing about this lens is it focuses so close. So you can focus all the way down to about 4 feet. And then once you put a teleconverter on there, you've basically got yourself almost a macro lens. Things like dragonflies, larger frogs, larger insects, this can basically act as a macro lens. If you really are truly into macro photography, you'd be better off getting probably the 100 or 150 or 180mm macro lenses. One of those would be a better choice if that's your specialty. But if you're like me and you just sometimes see an amazing frog or a butterfly or something and you want to get a nice close picture of it, this is a great lens. And then of course it's also good for larger birds or doing some flight photography also. So very versatile lens, highly recommended. And for me also, when I do, sometimes I'll do some landscape photography when I'm out in these beautiful places that I get to go to. And I use the Canon 17 to 40mm lens. I don't feel the need for a 2.8 wide angle. So this lens is nice, doesn't weigh too much, gets the job done, and still really good image quality. So those are the cameras and lenses that I use. And now we'll move on to look at some of the other things that I use. Alright, so next I thought I'd talk about some of the things that I use to support my camera. Obviously if you're using a big heavy lens like that, you really need to be using a tripod for most of your shots. I would say that other than for flight photography, I use a tripod 99% of the time. Some people, it's always a funny thing with wildlife photographers and nature photographers. Nobody wants to use a tripod. I would love to not use a tripod. It's cumbersome, it's heavy. I don't enjoy using a tripod. And you'll see it in beginner photographers where they'll say, oh, I don't need to use a tripod, it gets in my way. And I was like that too. Until you realize how much sharper your images are when you do use a tripod. It's absolutely essential for high quality wildlife photography. So in terms of what you're going to use, I would highly recommend tripods from Gitzo. They're great, sturdy, well built, easy to maintain tripods. They are expensive, especially the carbon fiber ones, but they'll last you a lifetime. So you buy one and chances are you'll never need to buy another tripod. For me, I have the I believe it's the 3540 XLS model. And I chose this one. It's a 4-section tripod because it goes up extremely high. And I usually see people in the field who have tripods that don't quite even go up to their eye height, which I think is a big mistake, especially for birds, which are often up above you. So you wind up crouching down trying to get shots. You're not comfortable shooting, and then you miss shots, or you're not quite as sturdy as you would have been. So for me, it's very important that tripod goes up at least to your eye height. And for me, I want it to go up even above that, because if they're up above me, I might need to shoot upwards. Or sometimes, I can remember a time when I was photographing this woodpecker at its nest, and it was up quite a bit higher, and I was able to use a rock or a stump or something to elevate my position and then just extend the legs of my tripod. So for me, having a tripod that goes minimum up to your eye height is essential. What are you going to mount your lens on, though? Lots of options out there, from ball heads to gimbal heads, and there's a variety of companies that make both of those. For me, though, there's absolutely nothing better than the standard, the original, the best of the best Wimberley gimbal head. It's pretty much flawless. It's simple. It just works. It's sturdy. You never have to worry about it. Just go buy one. And it's just perfect for a big super telephoto lens. So that's what I use. And you'll notice that I've got this contraption on here, which is my flash bracket. We're going to talk about flash in the next section, but it's very important for bird photographers or nature photographers to have a flash bracket. And what that allows you to do is get your flash up off the camera. And that's extremely important, because if you have your flash on the camera, you're going to get what's called steal eye. So where you have that really annoying silvery gray reflection in the bird's eyes, similar to what humans get with red eye, but birds get steal eye. And if you can get your flash up and off camera, then you can eliminate that altogether. So you'll need to have a good flash bracket. Again, this one's made by Wimberley. I've got an extension post in here too to get my flash even further up. And then you're also going to need a cable to connect from the flash bracket down to where the camera would sit. So you'll have to source out one of those, either from Canon or from one of the off-brand companies. I would suggest the off-brand companies, because the Canon flash cable is terrible. So that's my main tripod rig. However, this rig here is not exactly great for landscape photography. So I always carry with me a nice little ball head. This one's by Giottos, and it does a great job. It's small, lightweight, but really does a good job for what I need it for. If you're doing work with, perhaps you don't have a super telephoto lens, maybe your biggest lens is a 300 f4 or 300 2.8 or the 400 5.6, you probably don't need a full gimbal head. You could get away with using a ball head, but you're going to need something a little more substantial than this. So perhaps something from Really Right Stuff or one of those companies would be a great choice. Markins is another good one. There's quite a few good ones on the market, but for me, tripod, gimbal head, flash bracket, small ball head, that's what I use to support my equipment. So now let's take a look at some of the flash equipment that I use. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the flash equipment that I use when I'm out doing my bird photography. Now, again, when you're starting out in photography, in nature photography or wildlife photography, sometimes there's a tendency to not want to use flash. It's this intimidating aspect of photography. Myself, personally, I hated using flash until I learned how to control it and really use it well. People, I think, who shoot in areas where they are blessed with nice flat wide open spaces and can use direct light are often very hesitant to use flash. But if you're a wildlife photographer like me who works mostly in tropical rainforests around the world, you better learn how to use flash or you're going to have a really hard time. So flash is essential. In fact, when I go shooting, when I go on trips, I pray for cloudy days where I can just use a bit of fill flash and I can shoot all day long and I don't have to worry about light angles, and I can really be a lot more productive. So whatever system you use, it's important to have one main flash. So you probably want to get the company that you use is most powerful flash. So I have here the 580 EX2. There's now a new version out, but this one still serves the purpose as my main flash. Most of these high-end top-of-the-line flashes will also serve as a radio transmitter, so they can also signal other flashes to fire if you're going to want to use more than one flash. So get one main flash, and then if you want to, as you get more experience with using flash, you can add some more flashes and maybe do some stuff with off-camera flash. But for those, you don't need to have the big expensive one. You can use one of the smaller ones. So for me, I have the 580 EXs, and then I have the 430 EXs, which are smaller.
less expensive, but work great as off-camera slaves. As I mentioned, you're going to need an off-camera shoe cord to connect from your camera body up to the flash itself. And I usually just buy the off-brand ones off of eBay or Amazon, 10 or 15 bucks, and they're pretty much just as good as the Canon ones that cost 80 or 90 bucks. So, in fact, it's always a good idea to have an extra one of these when you're traveling because things go wrong and they break. So for 10 bucks, not a problem to have an extra one of those in your bag. A very common flash accessory that a lot of people use is the Better Beamer, and it is a great little product. It's a great little invention. It's basically a magnifying lens that you hook on to the front of your flash, and it sends out the beam more concentrated and more powerful in one area. But a lot of people think that it's like you have to use the Better Beamer if you're going to get good results with flash, and that's not really the case. All the Beamer is doing is magnifying the beam. So the only real benefit of using the Better Beamer is that your flash will be able to recycle faster. If it's needing to put out a full power burst in normal scenarios, maybe with the Beamer it only has to put out a quarter power, and that means that it can recycle faster and you'll get more frames in a row that the flash will actually fire. The only other benefit would be that if the subject was so far away that the flash on its own wouldn't be able to throw enough light, then the Beamer would help you. When I'm walking through the forest and there's low branches and things all over the place to bump into, forget it. I don't put this thing on because it keeps getting in the way and getting caught on things. But if I'm shooting at a blind or if I'm shooting at a feeder and I know I'm going to be taking a lot of flash photos, then yeah, I go ahead and throw it on. And it's a really great little product. We spoke a little bit about using flash wirelessly. And the Canon system, up until this recent flashes, has been using infrared technology, which sometimes can be problematic because you have to have line of sight between your transmitter and your receiver. It definitely works, but it wasn't the best system, and they've recognized that, and they've now switched to radio transmitters in their new flashes. But if you don't want to upgrade all your flashes, you can get these brilliant little things from a company called Photix, which are radio transmitters and receivers. They're not very expensive, they work great, and another great thing is they work cross-platform. So if you, for example, imagine you're shooting with a friend who shoots Nikon and you shoot Canon, you can have these and you can both work on the same setup. So these are great. They take AAA batteries that last forever, and they just work really well. So these are always in my bag. I have a set of 10 of each, transmitters and receivers. And a final little flash accessory is again made by Photix, or there's another company, I think Yuang Nuo, that makes these. And this is just an extra battery pack for your flash. So if you're out in the field all day, maybe you're going to burn through your batteries. This holds, I believe, 6 or 8 batteries, AA's, and you can connect that into your flash, and it gives you a little longer shooting time, and in theory will help the flash to recycle a little bit faster as well. So those are my flash accessories, and now we'll move on to some other accessories that I use in my photography. Okay, last but not least, anyone who is a wildlife photographer knows that there's a lot of accessories that come with the job, and you can spend a lot of money on random little things. So I just thought I'd just show you a few of my favorite things that I use all the time when I'm out in the field, and we'll have a look at some of those. So first of all, I shoot mainly in the tropics, in rainforests. Tends to rain a lot, so having a good rain cover is essential. And I really like these ones from Storm Jacket. There's so many ones out there on the market that are just so over-engineered. This one is just pretty much a tube. It goes over your lens, it keeps it dry. What else do you need? It packs up tiny. You can have it in your pocket. You can have it wherever you want. It's that big, and it'll keep your camera dry, and it does what it needs to do. So, great product. Every once in a while, I'll feel the need to use some camouflage when I'm photographing birds, and so I always keep with me one of these quick camo photo blinds. They pack up nicely into a small little compartment like this, and it's just a throw blind that you can put over yourself and disguise yourself from the birds. The only filter that I carry around is for my wide-angle lens, and it's a circular polarizing filter from Tiffin here. And that's a really nice filter to be able to see through the water, to be able to slow things down if you need to take light away, and to be able to get some more vibrant colors. I've always used memory cards from SanDisk. I have here the SanDisk Extreme. There's some even faster ones now, and I do recommend that you probably want to get faster cards so that your buffer doesn't fill up when you're shooting, and also when you go to download your stuff with the USB 3 and FireWire, it's nice to have fast cards that can dump all those images onto your computer faster. So get some good cards. As far as batteries go, I really like these PowerX Immedion ones. They're great. They hold their charge for up to a year at about 80% of their charge. So even if you have some in your bag from a year ago, they're still going to be charged up when you need them, which is great. And yeah, they've just never let me down, so I continue to use those. And along the same lines from PowerX, I use this charger, this 8-cell charger that works extremely well. It's nice that it can do a fast charge if you need to, or you can slow charge your batteries so that they'll last longer. And you can also recondition them. So once a year or so, I'll run my batteries through a recondition cycle, and then that sort of tops them up and keeps them working well. Another battery, definitely want to have extra batteries for your main camera body. You can go ahead and buy the ones from Canon or Nikon or whatever platform you use, or I certainly am a fan of buying off-brand ones just so I can have lots of batteries with me. To charge those, I love this little charger I got from Delkin. It's really cool. It basically just has these plates that clip in. Somehow they clip in and clip out. There we go. So that's the one that I need for my 7D, but hopefully if Canon changes the battery in the next one, I'll be able to just buy a different plate and click that in rather than having to carry multiple chargers or buy a whole new charger. So these are great. Charge 2 batteries at once. Does a really good job. Cameras these days allow you to calibrate your camera to the lens, so you may want to invest in one of these calibration devices. This is one from Spider called the Lens Cal, and you just set it on a table or put it on a little tripod, focus right there, and then you can see if you need to do any calibration settings to your body to a particular lens. So it's a really good idea to have your lenses and bodies calibrated. That's a good device. I love to have a good point and shoot in the field, so I've got, actually I'm filming with it right now, but I've got Canon S95. The current version is the S110. Great point and shoot camera, really good files, can shoot RAW, shoots great video. It's pretty much perfect in my opinion. Just tiny little camera that can still take really good pictures when you need it to. So got that. And my new toy are these beautiful Swarovski Swarovision EL 10x42 binoculars, which are basically the best binoculars that you can possibly buy, and I treated myself to these, so I'm very excited to be in the field with those now. And finally, I've got a few bags here from Lowepro. I'm fortunate that I'm one of the pros for Lowepro, so they are very generous and give me backpacks when I need them. So this is my main one that I travel with, and that fits the 600. It's the Pro Trekker 600. Fits pretty much everything you possibly could want in that one. And then I've got some smaller ones that I'll use if I'm going on a hike and I want to have some normal gear and also some camera gear with me. So these are a few different models that Lowepro carries. And yeah, I think they're really good bags. They're quality made, and they've never let me down. So lots of accessories, lots of main gear. As you know, photography is not a cheap hobby, but I hope you found this video useful to see some of the stuff that I use. I'll put a little link below this video where you can see links to all the equipment that I use and why I use it, and hopefully that'll be helpful for all of you aspiring nature and wildlife photographers out there. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date. I'm going to try to do a lot more videos, and I hope you'll keep watching, and please visit me online at my website. I'll put the link down below also. Thanks for watching. Bye.